So you want to build a house. Welcome to the podcast by Statera Homes. My name is Scott Daly. I'm joined by my co-host, Jackie Kowaleski.
Hey, what's going on?
And today we're going to talk about... Jackie, what are we talking about?
We're talking about cabinets.
Wrong. We're not talking about cabinets.
Oh my
we're going to
God.
talk about wine.
That was a trick question.
That was it. I really just
was
hung
so
you
mean.
out and cut you off.
That's fine. I'll just wait for another point in this podcast to get you back.
Bring it on.
Watch yourself.
So we're going to talk about wine. Why are we going to talk about wine? Well, Jackie likes wine.
I do.
But we're not going to talk about the wine just for the sake of Jackie's enjoyment of wine. But the wine is trying to make a point. So, Jackie, let me ask you a question. Since you like wine, you think there's a difference in taste, generally speaking, between most $6 bottles of wine and most $30 bottles of wine?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Generally speaking, yeah.
And so which do you prefer?
The more expensive
The
one.
more expensive wine. It's better? What's the breakdown?
I'm not a what is it?
Sommelier?
Yeah. You have to ask one of them.
Okay.
I
But
just
you can
generally
tell the
yeah.
difference. So let me ask you another question. You're in the liquor store or wherever it is, the supermarket, wherever you're buying wine. In Delaware, you're in a liquor store because we don't sell wine in our supermarkets. And so you're looking at the shelf. How do you tell the difference outside of price from the $6 and $30 bottle of wine?
You don't.
You don't?
You just, yeah. If
Unless
you're going,
you know
yeah.
the brands?
Yeah, pretty
right?
much. Unless you know the wine. You've had it before.
So my point is this. If you know what you're looking at, you know how to look for quality.
Right, I don't. I'm just looking at price.
Okay, you're just...
It's like if I'm going to my parents, I buy a little bit more expensive, and that's about it.
Right. So that you have your $6 bottle
Yeah.
crowd and your $30 bottle crowd.
Yes, there's audience for each.
Absolutely. So, but you go back to this thing. If you know what you're looking at, you can tell the difference without looking at the numbers. Right.
Okay, got it.
Okay.
So cabinets.
So hold on to that. So if you
Okay.
know what you're looking at, that matters. Well, let's say you're not into wine. Let's say you're into cars, right? So yeah, I know you're not into cars,
Yeah,
right?
keep going.
So what's the difference between a Honda and a BMW?
One's more expensive.
One is definitely more expensive.
And yeah, that's it for me.
That's it. So
That's
again, because
quality.
if you don't know what you're looking at, then you need to look at the numbers.
Yeah.
Right.
And
so
I mean, well, people know that people just say it's better quality. I really could not give you
Right.
one
You couldn't.
reason breakdown. I don't know.
Right. But people are buying BMWs, and for people that are into driving cars, they're going to tell you a BMW drives better for a lot of different reasons.
Right. They'll call me an idiot.
They might.
I really don't know.
Not to your face.
That's nice though.
Right.
That's fine.
Isn't it? Or they're going to say, look, there's just everyone understands there's a difference, that there is a
Right.
perception that brand carries some quality, some cachet, if
Right.
you will. But if you know what you're talking about, you understand there's a difference. Right.
Yes. I agree.
So if you can't hang on to the wine analogy, hang on to the BMW analogy. Third analogy is just going to be this. It's going to be raincoats, right?
Okay.
So let's just say there is a black raincoat that you can buy at Walmart,
Okay.
and it costs $24.
Okay.
And then there's a North Face raincoat that you can buy at a North Face dealer, wherever they sell those.
That I have.
That you have,
Yep.
that has a Statera logo on it, which is it's quite perky.
It is. It's a good one.
And that jacket costs $160. They both...
Thanks, by the way.
You're welcome. They both perform to a point.
I guess, yeah.
Right.
Like the wear on it. If I'm walking to a bus stop, if I'm walking 50 yards in the rain, that's fine. If I'm
The Walmart's fine, is what
hiking,
you're
yeah, they're both fine.
Right.
But I think duration and elements, I guess the quality is going to matter eventually.
saying. Right. So if it matters, then the quality matters, right? And so we are talking about kitchen cabinets. And so now you have three different analogies you can hang your hat on. You can either, if you understand wine, you know the difference between a cheap bottle of wine and a decent bottle of wine. If you understand cars, you know the difference between a luxury sports car and an economy car. And if you don't understand any of that, you understand there's cheap raincoats that work to a point, and then there's good raincoats. And there's a huge price difference. And so we're talking about kitchens. And what does that have anything to do with kitchens? Well, here's the thing about a kitchen. If you know what you're looking at, you're going to be able to tell the difference between quality and not quality. And our argument is this, and this is why the raincoat analogy has to work for everybody, is the kitchen matters because it's an essential part of your house.
Yeah.
And it's an essential room in your house. And you might say, well, Scott, I don't really cook. Fine. But you hang out in your kitchen. And if you entertain in your house, you hang out in your kitchen.
Totally.
So we say at Statera, the kitchen is the heart of the house. And so then the kitchen becomes not the raincoat that you're walking 50 yards and standing for 2 minutes while the bus shows up. That's not that raincoat, okay? That could be another room in your house that you say, hey, look, I have so many dollars. I'm not going to invest the dollars because I don't need this to perform at a high level. But my kitchen is where all of the important conversations of my life, they're getting had at the kitchen table, at the bar. That's where it's going down. When I have a party that has nothing to do with dinner, that has nothing to do with cooking, they're going to be in my kitchen. So the kitchen is a big deal. So very quickly today, we are going to run through how to spot a quality kitchen, because I think people have a lot of conceptions about what goes into a high-quality kitchen, specifically cabinets, in today's podcast, that really just aren't true. And so we're just going to run through this at like light speed. And again, once you recognize the quality, once you understand the idea, this stuff matters.
How fast are we going? Do I need to talk? Do I need to speak faster?
I think you should speak faster.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Okay, so are we starting with wood species?
So we're going to talk about kitchen cabinets. And so what we want to do is first we want to talk people out of a notion. And then the notion is this, is that the fancier looking the kitchen is, that necessarily the better the craftsmanship.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
So let's start there. So let's say you're looking at this kitchen cabinet, and it's got these cabinet fronts, and they have all of this supposedly intricate work done to them, and they just look very complicated. And you think, okay, that must be the most expensive thing. And it actually might be the most expensive. The question is it great craftsmanship? Because I will tell you this, great craftsmanship when it comes to kitchen cabinetry doesn't always look super fancy. So
when you say fancy, you mean a lot of design.
I mean a lot of design.
Like little lips, little frames. Like, okay, I gotcha.
Just a lot going on, beading, inset frames, arches, you name it, routing stuff. All of that stuff, the more of that stuff, I think we generally have a perception, well, that's a higher end. Look
at all that stuff.
Right, but that's just not that's how everyone wants you to think about cabinetry, but that's not the reality of cabinetry.
Okay, and why is that?
Cabinetry is ultimately about craftsmanship, and craftsmanship can be shown in a lot of ways that are far more subtle than the design, and they have to do with the construction of the cabinet itself. And so you can look at a cabinet that's constructed in a certain way that is a very simple cabinet. I mean, just flat panels, squares, no crazy routings, no crazy inlays or anything like that. And you can say that is a high quality cabinet. And that's the difference. That's when you're in the wine shop going, I don't need to look at the numbers. I can look at these brands. I can look at where they're from. I can look at their vintage, and I can know this is going to be better than that. And so what we want to do is we want to say, I'm the type of person that when I'm pricing out something that costs $400,000, $500,000, $600,000, $700,000, I can spot quality, so I don't overpay for junk.
Yeah.
Right, and that's the deal. So we're going to make sure you understand that. So when you start talking about kitchen cabinets, like Jackie mentioned, there's wood species and all that, and that stuff is kind of, I would say, distracting.
It totally is.
Right. There's three main wood species I would say you're going to see a lot of, and that would be maple, oak, and cherry. And oak is usually your base cheapo cabinet, and then you can move up to a maple, and then maybe cherry is more expensive. And those are your standard woods. There's not a huge real price difference in a lot of those woods. Maple, you don't see a lot.
Wait, sorry. If there's no price difference, why is oak? Why would you say cheapo as opposed to maple? Or
it just seems to be that the lowest level of cabinetry is always oak.
Okay.
And oak is a hardwood. It's very durable. It's a common wood. And so it takes stain and it gets used a lot. So it's just out there. But you can have an amazing high quality oak kitchen because it's not necessarily what the wood species is. Again, it's the craftsmanship, right? All wine is grapes, right? Cars. It has an engine. The Honda has an engine. The BMW has an engine. They all have engines. So it's where you go from there that makes the difference. So
I see.
So you don't need to You can pay attention to the wood, but it's only because it's gonna tick you up in price. It doesn't necessarily tick you up in quality. And the reason is too is that when you think about it, there's not a lot of that actual species of wood. You got the sides, which are not made of that wood. Sometimes the frames and the interior shelves are not made of that wood, and so the oak is decoration, or the maple or the cherry. So
Okay. So what you're looking at is what part of the cabinets are made of that wood
right.
and how they're put together.
Right, and so
Okay.
so very briefly, if you look at a cabinet door, you've kind of got three different styles that we're really going to talk about in any detail. And one would be called a partial overlay, and that is a small drawer and a small cabinet door front, and you can see the frame around the outside, but the door sticks out, so the door sits on top of the frame.
Gotcha.
That is your least expensive cabinet because the drawer fronts and the door fronts are made of the species of wood that you've picked for the most part. And so they're not using as much of that wood. It's very easy to build this because the door just sits on top of the frame.
Right. Okay.
And it's just there.
Right. You just plop the hinge on and
Yeah, and all it has to do is cover the hole.
and you don't need to really line it up.
Nothing like that. So there's
Okay.
there's no craftsmanship that goes into that. That is a cabinet. It will perform its job. It'll perform its job hopefully for years to come, just like the Walmart raincoat. So the next step up would be called what a full overlay, and this just has a bigger door front and a bigger drawer front, and it covers most of the frame. So you've got more of that species of wood covering the frame. It's a little more luxurious. It's a higher end look. It is all still a door and a drawer that sit on top of the frame, and they cover the frame.
Gotcha.
And so that's going to be your next step up, and you're going to. So people get distracted by the style in the door, like we talked about.
Yeah.
They get distracted by the wood species or the color or whatever. But the real step up in quality would be from a partial overlay to a full overlay.
Okay.
The next step up, and so if you really want to get into what I would call a kitchen that you could be proud of, would be to get inset doors and drawers.
Yeah, I love that look.
And so the inset door and the inset drawer, they go into the frame. So when they're closed, they are level with the frame. So you can see the frame. It's identical to the doors and the drawers.
Right, it's flush.
It's flush. The whole front of the cabinet is flush. So the frame is brought out. And so the difference is, the reason why you can spot that as quality is you know that cabinet has to be built to to a more specific tolerance because the door and the drawer have to go into a frame. So you can't be off. And not only can you not be off, but you've got to build a box that is going to last for years to come. And what that means is as you go around the entire structure, the cabinet has to be stronger. It has to be more durable. And that is not necessarily a fancier look, but if you walk into a kitchen and you see inset, you know,
nice flush look.
Right.
Yeah.
Without looking
know.
at the price tag, you know that you're dealing with better product.
Yeah.
Out of the gate.
Craftsmanship.
Because
Got
the
it.
key is craftsmanship, not the finishes, not everything else. And so what you're going to see on a cabinet like that, and you haven't even touched it yet, you just looked at it, you're going to see things like a dovetail drawer construction. And that type of construction is where they're going to interlace the wood in the drawers so that the wood is keeping the drawer together versus a stapled cabinet. You're going to see plywood boxes. So the box of the cabinet is built of very thick, very strong plywood. You know,
Yeah, layer plywood for those people. I mean, people don't. They might not know plywood versus what am I thinking?
particle board is the other thing, which is the same stuff if you buy your office desk from Staples.
Your college stuff
That you bought to move your kid into college, and you knew the thing was going in the dumpster at the end of the year.
You just pushed it down the stairs.
Right. What you don't know, if you don't ask, you're going to end up with a kitchen where the main construction method is particle board, and your whole kitchen is made of it. It's made of cheap stuff.
Right. So when you overload your junk drawer,
Right.
you're not gonna have fun.
Right. Or
with
5
that.
years in, because that particle board is only as strong as the glue and whatever is glued on either side of it to hold it together.
Right.
It's not great craftsmanship.
Right.
And again, it has its place. But if you're being sold this luxury high-end kitchen, if you're being sold this expensive product and it really isn't that, then you're just being you're being
Right.
sold.
And one of the other things is those guides, right? That on the drawer, they extend fully. Is that what
Yeah,
that
so
means?
you want a drawer that's going to come out all the way to give you a more usable drawer that's a more expensive guide, and the hinges. So just look at the tolerances. So when you have a partial overlay cabinet where the front is inches and inches and inches, which is a long distance in a cabinet, even though inches sound small, away from something else. If it's off by a little bit, it's still going to open and close. On the partial overlay, same thing. If it's off by a little bit, it's still going to open or close. And so you can use hardware, which is the hinges, the things that move in the cabinet, the things that wear out in a cabinet. You can use cheaper stuff because the tolerances are not that high. If you go to inset cabinetry, you're talking about a very demanding tolerance. You have to have not just high quality in the materials that you use, but high quality in the installation and how that stuff, because it's got to last for years to come. And that is the difference. So now you've looked at that. You're going to see the dovetail drawers. You're going to expect the plywood box. You're going to expect drawers that are not made of particle board, but they're made of solid maple or they're made of plywood. And so and then just across the board, the finishes are going to be nicer, stuff like that. Like you can get, both the Honda and the BMW have front seats, but the BMW is just a little more comfortable. Why? Because it's not just quality in a few places, so the driving dynamics are different. It's quality across the board. The wine,
Literally.
Literally, it's just,
board,
it's everywhere. And so that's kind of a thing that you really have to understand and be aware of, that you're looking at that. So,
Okay, so we talked about the cabinets and the craftsmanship and all these things you should look for quality. But, when you're actually putting the kitchen together for your life, is what we like to say, how do you even think of it? Do you look at their stock kitchens? What can you get?
Yeah, so
I
would say this, everybody wants to put their kitchen together in a different way.
Right.
And I think, again, when you're spending $400,000, $600,000, you should be able to put the kitchen together in a way that you want. So I would say, just in general broad strokes, if you can't sit down with a kitchen professional and have them work through the kitchen design with you, walk out. You have if there's no flexibility with the builder, or there's no expertise that they're willing to provide you with that. Again, the kitchen's that important. This is where life goes down. So if you're not getting an individualized appointment, and I don't mean with the sales rep, and they're going maple or cherry, light or dark, here are painted colors. And there's nothing wrong with that. We're not trying to knock that. I'm trying to say is, hey, where are you going to put your trash? Hey, this is where your dishwasher is. Hey, what kind of things do you have? Do you have a mixer? Do you need a place to put your mixer? What kind of food do you cook? If somebody isn't going to sit down with you and ask those types of questions, walk away. Just walk away, because you're not going to get a kitchen that fits your life.
Yeah,
and why spend the money if you're not going to get a kitchen that fits your life? If you're going to build new, buy a used house that already has a kitchen, and then at least you can walk in and go, I can make this work.
Okay, I got it. Yeah.
Right. Buy a used house. But if you're going to get your house, and they're going to look at you and say, oh yeah, you have to have our kitchen. Well, then it's not your house anymore. You're just buying their house.
That's true.
That's new.
I haven't been through the home building process myself, and I think that's one thing I probably would have just kind of taken. I just wouldn't even think about it. If they told me this is what you have to do, I'd say, okay. Well, okay.
So what you want to do is you want to be able to get some time with someone that's going to understand a little about you, and then is going to walk you through the design process of your kitchen, where it lays out, what kind of appliances you're using, how you're going to live in this kitchen. And if you can get that kind of service, the value of that is amazing. That's worth making the investment is. Okay, that is what makes the $6 bottle of wine not as good as a $30 bottle of wine. Is that what makes the BMW the better? So it's not just the craftsmanship, but it's the expertise that goes with the craftsmanship, because then I know I'm getting a high-quality kitchen that has exquisite craftsmanship that's going to last for years to come. That, again, people that know are going to look at that and go, yeah, that's good stuff. And then I'm getting it for me. I'm getting it individualized by somebody who has the expertise in kitchen design. And the sales rep for the builder or your realtor isn't that person. I'm not that person. And I build houses. This is all I think about.
Yeah, I'm definitely not that person. But I did listen to our person talk about this, and some of the things she said blew my mind.
Right, because she's thinking about stuff that
would've-
we've never
No.
even considered.
No, she would say something, and it was amazing that I hadn't thought of it.
Right. But you live it. Like you
Yeah.
but what we do is we're just used to having a kitchen
Right, we accept it.
that doesn't work. Right.
Yeah.
We take it and we make our lives work around our kitchen. Well, again, for $500,000,
Yeah.
that's preposterous.
Yeah, that's lame.
That's just terrible. Don't do it. No kitchen designer, no building the house.
No buildy.
No building. I mean, I think
I like that.
that's
good.
it. No, so
It's easy to remember.
right, because it just matters. That's the room that matters. Like the
Yeah.
spare bedroom. Okay, you're buying a house at the beach, and the spare bedroom is
Mm-hmm.
going to be for that annoying cousin, and you don't want them to be that comfortable. You want them to come and
That's
visit
not-
because they're family, but you don't want them to stay. I mean, crap. Go
Maybe
home.
That's your cousin.
Do your
I don't-
3 days. Okay, so we can unpack your family. Right
No,
here on
we
the
don't
pod-
need to
okay,
do that.
yeah, we're not
That's
going to
not-
do that.
No.
You have a great family,
I
but
do.
you all don't live in the same house,
No.
and maybe that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
Right.
Yeah, I agree.
We'll leave that there.
What is it? No designer, no buildy.
No designer, no building the house.
Buildy the house.
Don't
Yeah.
do it. So listen, that is the very fast dive
Yeah.
into wine, expensive cars, fancy jackets, and most importantly, kitchens, because the kitchen is the heart of the home. We want you to
Yes.
have a house that not only you love and is high quality, but is designed around your life. Because I can walk down the street in Starbucks and I can get a latte that's designed around my life, and I can't drop $500,000 on a house and get that. No building.
Right, no buildy.
No building. So listen, that is a very quick dive into a very deep subject of kitchen cabinets, but we think it's really important. We hope that we have educated and entertained.
Yes.
This is the So You Want to Build a House podcast, and I'm Scott Daly,
And I'm Jackie Kovaleski.
and we hope you have a great day. So You Want to Build a House is brought to you by Statera Homes. Statera Homes is a craft home builder in southern Delaware. This builder finds value in working with you to build a home that is the perfect fit for your lifestyle. Statera truly sets themselves apart from other builders in the area. To find out more, visit their website, www.staterahomes.com. That's STATERAHOMES.com. Or call their model home at area code 302-329-8881. That's 302-329-8881. Music from this podcast was by the band Defining Parallel from their recent single, Painted Lives. Thank you for listening to So You Want to Build a House. To stay updated on the most recent episodes, subscribe to this podcast on iTunes or Spotify or wherever you found it to begin with, or check out Statera Homes website, which is again www.staterahomes.com. Thank you very much.